Hello and welcome to this video. We are going to create a couple of functions for our application. So I'm going to create the functions above the first label. So I'm just going to tap down and we'll add the first function here. To define a function, you type in the word def, you do a space, and then you give the function a name. I'm going to call this function convert, and you add the parentheses and you add the colon. The colon creates indentation. So when I press enter, you can see here it has indented that code. First thing I want to do is define a variable. So I'm going to define a variable called value, and I'm going to set that to equals to whatever value is going to be inputted. For the feet value, I want to wrap that around this float function. A float basically is a floating point number, a number that contains decimal. So I have a variable called ft underscore entry, which I created previously for the entry widget for this variable. So I'm going to use the get method. So type in get. The get method is going to retrieve whatever value is entered into that entry widget that contains this variable. So whatever value is entered, I'm going to convert it to a floating point number using this float function. So this is the application here. This entry widget here is what I'm referring to here, ft underscore entry. So whatever value is entered here, we're going to use the get method to retrieve or capture that value and save it into this variable and then convert it into a floating point number using this float function. Next, I'm going to create a variable called meter. Now this is a variable that will calculate what the equivalent in meter is when you convert from feet to meter. And I'm going to set this to equals to the variable called value times 0.3048. 1 feet is equals to 0.3048 meter. So whatever value is entered for the feet inside the entry widget, whatever value you enter here will be multiplied by 0.3048. All right. And then now that we've got that value, we need to set it into this entry widget. We want to place, once we click on the calculate button, it will retrieve the value that has been entered for a feet. We click calculate, it will perform this calculation, whatever value we enter times this. So we need to use the set method on this variable on line 11 to place the value inside this meter widget. The variable name for the meter widget was called empty underscore value. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to set using the set method. So we're going to pass in. Before we do that, we want to format it so that we can have it to a specific decimal point number. So to do that, you use the quotes, you type in %, you do a dot. I want it to be 4 decimal places, so I'm going to do 4F. All right, and then you do a space, a %, and then you reference the variable name which contains the value on line 11. All right. So what this will do, it will convert the value to 4 decimal places. Now that we've created this function, we need to wire this function to the convert button. So if I scroll down to where the button is, so I've got the convert button. Inside this command variable, I need to replace the blank value with the name of the function I've just created called convert. So each time you click on the button, this function called convert, which is this function here, is going to be called or triggered. So I'm going to save that. Let's quickly test the application to see if it works. So you enter a value, say 4 feet. Say for example, I enter 6 feet, and then you click on convert. And you can see here is put the value in there, and you can see it's formatted it to 4 decimal places. All right, so the next thing we need to work on here is this clear button. So if we click on clear, it clears what's inside the entry widget. So we're going to create that function now. To save some time, I've added the code to create the second function from line 14 to 16. To create a function, you type in def space, give the function a name. I've called it clear. You add the parentheses and the colon. And inside this function here, I'm referencing 2 variables that I previously created for the entry widgets. This is a variable called ft_value, and I'm using the set function on this variable. So I'm setting whatever value that contains, I'm setting it to blank, which means it will clear it. And the same thing for this variable here. So these 2 variables control the entry widgets. So I'm using this set function to set them to blank once you click on the clear button. So I need to wire the clear function into the clear button. So I come here, get rid of the blank value, and type in clear to reference that function. So anytime you click on the clear button, this command here will call the function called clear, and it will activate that function. So I click file, save, and then we can test the application again. So let's test the application again. So I'm going to enter a value. So let's say 5.2, and click on the convert button. It does the conversion, puts the value in here. And if I click on the clear button, it clears both inputs. I'm going to enter another value. Let's say 4 feet, click calculate. It pops the value in there, and we click clear. To exit the application, just click on this X here, and that will exit the application. So this concludes the project. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this programming journey. If you found this video insightful and engaging, please consider giving it a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button below. By subscribing, you'll stay updated with our latest programming courses, coding tutorials, and tech discussions. Learning and growing together is what makes our community thrive. So, don't forget to ring the bell icon to receive notifications whenever we upload new content. Your support fuels our passion for sharing knowledge and empowering aspiring developers like you. If you enjoyed this course, please share it with your friends and fellow programmers. Let's spread the love of coding and create a community of learners who inspire and uplift one another.